Awesome. Well, me and Sam both had a chance to see it this week, and I think we're just going to go in like straight into spoiler territory as far as this is concerned, because there's no point kind of dilly-dallying around. Let's just basically crack on and just talk about it. So, Sam, do you want to give me just like a few kind of initial reactions to the movie, a bit of a kind of a sum up, and your general thoughts about the film?
I thought it was really good. I really enjoyed it from start to finish. I thought the characters were very well rounded. I thought that the character development was excellent. I thought Gal Gadot was absolutely fantastic as Wonder Woman. I think she was a really good choice. Chris Pine wasn't really Steve Trevor. He pretty much played Captain Kirk, but I didn't have an issue with that really. It got a little bit slow in the middle, but it was a necessary part of the movie. And the little twist at the end, I kind of saw that come in, but I didn't realize who it was going to be, which was good. I liked that. So overall, I enjoyed the movie. I'd give it a solid 8.5, 9 out of 10. Like I said, I did have a few issues with it, but you know, it's not something I can sort of absolutely probe into. I probably could find even more issues with it, but I wasn't looking for them. I actually did get lost in this movie, and I really, really enjoyed it.
Yeah, completely. I really did go into this movie with kind of like an open mind, just purely because I think just because of DC's kind of sort of disaster movies so far, in the fact that we've had Suicide Squad and Batman v Superman that have just completely tanked as far as ratings are concerned. But then, of course, like we heard that it was coming in at like 97% on Rotten Tomatoes. It was getting rave reviews. So I was hopeful, but as well I was holding back. I was being a bit reserved as far as my expectations of the movie. But just from the offset, just absolutely loved this film. I thought it was fantastic. I thought the action was superb, albeit the slow-mo just got a little bit too much after a while. Come on, just pull it back a little bit. Incredible action. I agree with you entirely. Gal Gadot just gave this such an inspiring performance. Like, she was Diana Prince just through and through, without a doubt. And she played just this completely like this kick-ass female hero, but as well there was this wonderful naivety to her in the way that she kind of looked at the real world and things like that. I thought the score was absolutely fantastic. Obviously, we played that little bit of a snippet at the beginning of the soundtrack, which was the music from the No Man's Land scene, which we'll talk about, I'm sure, a little bit later on. But just overall, man, just a great film. I think Chris Pine as Steve Trevor was absolutely fine. The twist at the end, which you spoke of, I didn't see it coming, but I kind of know what you mean in the sense that there was going to be a twist, and I'm like, we'll get onto that a little bit later. And yeah, overall, there's a few things I can kind of nitpick at. Again, we'll get onto them, but overall, I have to say, I enjoy this movie from start to finish. Just, absolutely, absolutely awesome. So I suppose, let's kind of get into this a little bit and say that this movie down. We won't go through it like beat for beat, I don't think, but
we've said that before, and you know what happens.
we end up doing it anyway. So let's kind of the opening scene to this movie is actually Diana Prince in modern day in Paris.
She's
delivery, doesn't she?
Yeah, she's like a curator at the Louvre museum, and she gets a delivery from Bruce Wayne.
Pretty much, yeah, exactly. Yeah. So what did you think of like the opening, like kind of taking us into modern day, and then which led almost into like this her sort of telling the story, if you will?
No, I liked it. I thought it was really good because I kind of think that it was a good way to start it, and also a good way to end it as well. And it was very comic book the way that it was laid out. So it's like modern day is like, maybe one day you'll tell me, because Bruce writes a message and he's like, I found the original. Maybe one day you'll tell me the real story. And she sort of has a flashback, and she is telling you the story, so she's thinking back to it and she's telling you the story, and the way that it ends with her still looking at the photograph, I think it looks really good.
Yeah, totally, absolutely. I thought that was a really nice touch, and it kind of brought it round to the fact that we got like sorry, I'll start that sentence again because that was completely garbled. It made it relevant to what we saw in Batman v Superman because it put her in modern day. It gave us a little bit of context, which was nice. But then we go into what I thought was just a really great kind of opening section to the first act, where we see Diana Prince as a youngster. You know, she's really young. She's on Themyscira, and first thing that kind of just blew me away about this was just Themyscira looked amazing. The visuals were just absolutely amazing. Are you with me on this one, Sam?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like the waterfalls, the it is what you would define as a paradise island, which was awesome. And you know, like I say, the waterfalls, the buildings, they were still like ancient Greek and things like that. The costume design was astounding. It was just so good, and the way that the island looked, like I say, it was like still very much ancient Greek, and it looked awesome. A really, really, really impressive piece of design there. And the way that we find out a bit later, the way the island is hidden as well is within this sort of fog and mist, which is really cool.
Yeah, totally. And
I say you find out about that later, but. And basically, the story begins with Diana running away from her tutor and wanting to learn how to fight.
Basically, yeah. Effect.
Yeah, we follow her. We follow her running through Themyscira to the not battleground, so it's a battle training arena, where Antopole is her auntie is training a new generation of Amazonian warriors.
Yeah, completely. Yeah, and I loved the some of the scenes were absolutely fantastic. Of like the warriors, like, you know, bending backwards over a horse and firing an arrow and like jumping up in the air. It was just some really, really awesome scenes, and the way that they gave you this prelude through is she called Hippolyta, Diana's mom?
Yeah.
Like that. Yeah. You know, her telling her like this bedtime story which explained like Zeus and Ares. Like, what did you think of the visuals that we had for like this storytelling?
I thought it was cool because it was like it was like paintings in a book, and she had then she then got that it was like Diana, it was imagining what was going on as the paintings were moving around and things like that. And I thought that was really cool, the way it sort of swept from piece to piece, and you could see the final scene. As soon as she opened the book, you could see the final scene in the background, but it sort of sweeps through the book telling the story and then gets back to that bit, which was very cool.
Yeah, completely. It was, yeah, it was great, man. Really, really nice visuals and a really good, rather than just giving us like, you know, like an opening sort of monologue, which, and with visuals, which gives us like this backstory, was really, really great. And we got a little bit, didn't we, of Diana Prince, when I'd say she looked kind of like mid-teens or something like that, but then it just went like straight into into Gal Gadot then, didn't it, you know?
Yeah. So we see preteen Diana sort of training, and the Queen says to Hippolyta says to Antopole, you know, you're going to train her harder than any Amazon's been trained before, but you're not going to tell her why.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, and we learn, don't we, that Zeus created Diana as effectively a god killer in case Ares ever pokes his ugly nose up again.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And this is the first time we actually see her use her godlike powers, when she has the bracelets on and she deflects a blow, and this huge sort of blast radius goes around her, and that's the sort of first discovery of her actual powers.
That's it, man. Yeah, and I thought as well, I mean, I've got to say hats off to DC. As far as the promotion for this movie, because from the offset of this movie, they're talking about Ares, and it's kind of pretty much set in stone that he's going to be the main villain, he's going to be the main antagonist. But as far as like the trailers and the promotion for this movie, that was, you know, if discounting like the Lego figures and some of the toys that were revealed at like New York Toy Fair, it was never revealed, was it? They kept it so quiet. I thought was really, it left for some mystery in the movie, because I didn't feel like every trailer had pretty much like given me, you know, the bare bones and the whole structure of this movie, essentially.
Yeah, well, pretty much, yeah. It's it didn't reveal anything. And even with that like really naff Lego set, you know what Lego are like, sort of like releasing sets, so you kind of think, oh, maybe this is a bit of a sort of a prelude to what the story is going to be like, but it is not true at all. It's like complete nonsense. So yeah, I was really pleased that you didn't actually get to see Ares properly until the very, very end, which was very cool. Unlike like obviously when you see not Apocalypse, thingy, Doomsday and Batman versus Superman, they completely gave it away in the trailer. It was just shocking. But yeah, I was really impressed that they didn't reveal him till the very, very end, which was excellent.
Definitely, man, definitely, yeah. And I thought, you know, even just moving on of talking about visuals, we were talking about how Themyscira looked, like the way that London was represented of that era, with like the smoke billowing over all the buildings and just the really dirty, grimy kind of look about it was just really, really awesome. I thought, again, just, you know, all round visual, this movie kind of nailed it in all these different points.
We'll just talk about the casting real quick, and something I was really sort of not thrown back by, but sort of like a little bit shocked by. Not that's the wrong word. Shocked isn't the wrong word. Surprised by. Okay, I'll that still not the right word, but I'll sort of go with that. Was the casting of the Amazonian women, and I never even thought about it when I was sort of like watching the trailers and stuff like that. But obviously, all the Amazonian women, bar Wonder Woman, Diana, are all like middle-aged women. And I never even it never even sort of resonated with me, and I'm really glad they did that. Instead of having sort of like mid-20s to 30-year-old women and stuff like that, all these actresses were like I say, they're like clearly in the 40s or like 50s or something like that, and they all looked amazing. They all looked so good. And like I say, I never even thought about it at the time. It's like, well, of course they would be. Of course they'd be that age. It makes perfect sense that they'd look like that. But yeah, no, I thought it was amazing. A really, really casting on for everyone, really. Something that really stood out for me as well is when Steve Trevor arrives on the island and the Germans follow him to the island.
Yeah, definitely.
And the Germans charge. Oh, the boat. First of all, the boat gets caught on the rocks, and that topples over. But then all the Germans charge the beaches, and the Amazons come in and kill them all. Something that really sort of that I noticed was Gal Gadot's reaction to seeing death, because she's never seen death before. She knows that people die, but she's never seen death before. So to see one of her sisters or her auntie or her Amazonian sisters rather, like, shot with a bullet and just hanging there on a rope and stuff like that, it's also it was really good the way that she wasn't just like, oh, they're dead, kind of thing. She was actually absolutely distraught, because she's got to like however old she is, meant to be 25, maybe 20 to 25, and she's never experienced death before. And the way that Gal Gadot played that, the way her reaction was exceptional. It was really, really good.
I thought there was a really nice bit of kind of foreshadowing as well at this point as well, because, and first of all, I'll just say real quick that when the Amazonians were like jumping off the cliff, firing an arrow into like the side of the mountain, swinging down, that was really, really rad. That was a super, super cool moment. What was kind of cool was we see these Amazonians like running, storming the beaches with like the swords and the bow and arrows and things like that. But no matter how hard you train as like a warrior, there's still this aspect that you still can't defend yourself at like a machine gun firing at you.
Yeah.
That was a real kind of, that sort of put into perspective how kind of cut off from society these people are. But then what that did for us was later on when we get the scene where Wonder Woman is like storming across no man's land and she's deflecting every bullet and she's like, shielding away like shells and missiles and things like that. That then sort of puts into the comparison that how sort of a greater warrior she is to her fellow Amazonians. And I thought that was a really nice bit of, when you think about it later, like actually that kind of puts her in perspective with all of the others essentially. So you mentioned Chris Pine at the beginning, kind of just playing Chris Pine really, or Captain Kirk, however you want to.
He was pretty much Captain Kirk in that movie. Yeah, he's sort of like he had the same personality, had the same sort of the way he spoke and things like that. It just reminded me of the Captain Kirk character that he played in obviously Star Trek. It wasn't really a move on from any other sort of character, which I didn't have a major issue with it. It was just something I picked up on, really.
Yeah, well, I mean, regardless of like how he played the character, did you enjoy like his interaction with Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman? Did you buy their sort of the building of their characters and how they kind of sort of fell for each other?
Oh yeah, of course, yeah, absolutely. It's he's the first man she's ever come across in her entire life, and obviously he's going to be Chris Pine. He's not going to be me or you, is he? That
is rude, Sam. That is rude. I have been described as the Chris Pine of Greater Manchester on a few occasions.
So he obviously had to be like ridiculously good looking. But yeah, no, I like I say I didn't have an issue with his performance at all. I thought it was absolutely fine, and like I say, his relationship with Gal Gadot was obviously very good, and the way they built it up was awesome. And obviously, you know what actually really surprised me. Sorry, just to sort of segue off here a little bit. Lucy Davis as Etta Candy. She kind of like got built up as this character, and she was like helping out and stuff like that, and she was going to be leading the mission from David Thewlis's office and stuff like that. And then all of a sudden, she's gone. That was it. End of story. Yeah. She was just gone. And then she made a quick appearance at the end. It was a bit like, oh, that was a bit strange. That was kind of like a bit odd the way she sort of disappeared and then came back again. But
yeah, I totally agree. Well. I was texting Samantha, obviously your missus, the other night. I don't know why I'd felt the need to tell you that. You're like, oh, I'm married. When did I must have been asleep? And obviously, she absolutely adored the movie. And I was saying that I said, because she said, "Oh, I give it 10 out of 10." I said, "Well, I wouldn't say it's completely 10 out of 10." And she said, "Well, why? What did you not like about it?" So I said, "Well, two things straight off the top of my head. Number one, too much slow motion. That got really tiresome." Also, was all the other comment that I made was, I think he's called Ewan Davis or something like that. Ewan Bremner, maybe. The guy who played Spud in Trainspotting. The Scottish guy.
The Scottish guy, yeah.
And basically, I said his story arc and his bloody like PTSD or whatever he was suffering from was pointless, completely and utterly pointless. Would you sort of stand with me on that one, Sam?
I wouldn't say it was pointless. I think they could have developed a little bit further, but I also think that it was necessary to sort of get across a more personal view of war, because you obviously see these soldiers that are sort of a bit helpless and things like, like they're getting the limbs blown off, and there's horses stuck in there, the mud and things like that, and there's a family whose village has been blown up and stuff like that. And they're saying, Diana, you can't save them all, you can't help them all, that kind of thing. And sort of her courage when they go into that little town in Belgium, her courage sort of inspires everyone else to sort of do their duty, to step up. And I think that his sort of PTSD gave a more personal view of how war affects a certain person, rather than a whole. Like, yes, you can say that in war, a village, an entire town got blown up and lots of people died and stuff like that, and people were affected, but you don't know how they're affected. But if you display something like that, like PTSD from or like shell shock, even from like a war like the First World War, it gives it a more personal. It gives it a much more personal touch, and the fact that he overcame that through her, she sort of inspired him. Her bravery helped him get over that, not get over it, but sort of helped him get past it and move on. I think it was good. I think it was a good involvement in the film.
Yeah, I can appreciate that. I suppose I just didn't really see it from that perspective because I didn't kind of feel like I don't know I don't know, maybe I was just kind of overseeing it, but I didn't feel like his kind of arc was resolved in a way, and in a way I was like, it meant the way I was going to bring this around to what you were talking about, Etta Candy, and I was saying like I'd rather have seen some more sort of story built around her and her have more of an arc and a more of a sort of an interaction, and as well it would have been nice as well if, because obviously of that time, you know, like, you know, she's a secretary, and you know, at that time it was like, you know, the men go to the war and the women stay at home and, you know, fight the war, like, you know, the factories and things like that. Whereas if we'd have seen more kind of Etta Candy perhaps be inspired by Wonder Woman, to take more of a, you know, a stronger role of as a female in society, I don't know, maybe I would have sort of preferred something like that.
No, yeah, okay, fair enough.
But you know, that was just kind of an outside looking in opinion, and I was just kind of nitpicking to just sort of think of things that, because like I said, like I was saying to Samantha, I wouldn't give it 10 out of 10 because, I mean, you know, I wouldn't say it's the best movie that I've seen this year so far, but I still really, really loved it. So I was kind of thinking like, well, what did actually bring it down for me, you know?
Yeah. Well, that's fair enough, I suppose. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, let's just kind of move on from characters a second. So we had I'm sure it's called Ewan Bremner, that guy, the Scottish dude, and then we had a couple of like this little bit of a band of merry men, didn't he? Sort of, and I'd say
ragtag bunch of warriors. Yeah.
Yeah, completely. Yeah, and as well, like the trailers kind of led us to believe that like Etta Candy was going to supply like the comic relief, but then when she fucked off for half of the movie, it was kind of unsuspecting heroes that supplied the comedy, and for me, like, damn near every joke in this movie, you know, landed. It worked really, really well. Did you kind of enjoy the humor? Did you think enough, too much? Like, how did you feel about that?
Oh no, I think there was plenty. I think there was absolutely enough. I think if they tried to do too much of it, then it wouldn't have felt like a war film. But I think it really, really worked. The amount of humor that they put into it, and the sort of the personal humor between the four soldiers, I think was really good. And the fact that they were all of like different nations and stuff like that was really cool as well. It reminded me of the you know, the Howling Commandos from Captain America. I think.
Oh yeah, cool. Sure. Yeah, that's cool, man. Yeah, definitely. And then now you were saying before that you thought that the second act dragged a little bit. I'd say the only bit that kind of sort of slowed the film down a little bit, I think, was when they were kind of really concentrating on building the relationship with like Gal Gadot and Chris Pine. Were there any other kind of aspects of that second act, like you were saying, that kind of just sort of made it, just slowed the pace down just a little bit too much?
I wouldn't say so. No, it was mainly that bit. It was mainly that bit where they were sort of in the village and they were dancing and stuff like that. And I appreciate that it was there for a reason. But other than that, no, it was probably just that bit that kind of like slowed it down a little bit. But yeah, other than that, like I say, pacing was absolutely fine.
Yeah, for sure. Well, let's talk about, I think, probably my favorite scene in the entire movie, and with the piece of music that I played at the beginning of the podcast, was directly from that, and it was the scene where Chris Pine takes Gal Gadot to the trenches, and this epic scene where she throws off this coat that she's wearing, she puts on the headband, which was just amazing, and just marches out and just walks across the field, and she's battering away bullets, and then there's just this proper emotional, intense scene where she's like crouched down with a shield, just like defending like just this barrage of machine gun fire. Like, I mean, I had every hair on my bloody body was stood on end when this scene was going on. Like, how did you feel about this moment, Sam?
No, I loved it. Absolutely loved it. It was sort of that pinnacle moment in the movie, where she's like, you know, she hasn't had a chance to flex her sort of godlike muscles yet, and this is the point where she does it. And even though she realizes that, you know, war is a terrible thing and all this stuff is happening, and she still goes in there and attacks with the full fury of an Amazonian warrior and just hacks everybody to ribbons, and inspires the rest of the troops to be able to to charge across no man's land into the German trenches and liberate the small town that's there, the small village that's there.
Yeah, completely, dude. It was great, and again, like you say, inspiring everybody to go over the edge and fire the way through the whole thing. It was just amazing. Really, I mean, we'd seen that kind of a little bit in the trailer, but I'm so glad they didn't give too much. Yeah, an absolutely incredible scene. And then as well, when she goes into the village and she's like swooping away through these buildings and like the use of like the lasso, it was just, oh man, it was so rad.
That was absolutely cool. Very cool. Let's just talk about some other characters a second. Whilst we're talking, we're just talking about characters before. What did you think of like the sort of the main antagonist, the German general and Dr. Poison? What did you think of them?
To be honest with you, I wanted to talk about these guys, and I've completely forgot about this when we're in the middle of this. The general whose name escapes me. Obviously, we were kind of they were trying to throw us from the beginning, weren't they, and trying to make us think that he was Ares. But really, what it was Dr. Poison was just giving him some sort of serum which made him a bit strong. I don't know, whatever. He was fine. He was a perfectly fine decoy. They didn't give us too much of his character because at the end of the day he wasn't the real villain. But Dr. Poison, I really actually couldn't stand her. I thought that a proper irritating voice. It was so annoying, and I didn't really see the point of her having like this kind of mask over her face because we never even found out like why she's got a damaged face, so that was a little bit peculiar.
Well, she'd obviously been burnt or attacked. I'd say she was probably burnt at some point, but it was she was obviously injured for some reason. But I don't think you really need an explanation for that. She works with chemistry, she works with poisonous gas and stuff like that. It's kind of self-explanatory that clearly something has happened to her. I don't think it really needed an explanation. No, I thought, when she first started saying, he's Ares and stuff like that, I was like, it seems a bit too obvious to me that he would be. So I was kind of like thinking that he probably wasn't. As far as Dr. Poison goes, I think she was a fine sort of secondary character, but she didn't stand out for me in any way, shape, or form as like a major player in the movie. She was kind of just like a puppet, really, wasn't she? So
yeah, definitely. Yeah, she was there effectively to help out this storyline that basically this general was trying to sort of formulate this chemical weapon because he didn't agree with the armistice, did he? He didn't agree with these peace talks, and he was like, no, we can wipe out everybody in no man's land and all that kind of stuff. And then, I mean, well, let's kind of just jump to it straight away because we've kind of been skirting around it. Now, what's the actor called now who we find out who's actually Ares? Can you remember?
Oh, David Thewlis.
Him, yeah. I mean, I've seen him in a couple of other things before, and I really like him as an actor. I think he's great. And of course, at the end, towards the third act, we find out that it's actually him who's Ares, and he's been like influencing people to kind of motivate this war. And yeah, I thought it was a really, really great character turn and just a really nice twist. I mean, I've got to say, like, I did have a bit of a sort of a jaw kind of hit the ground moment when that was revealed. Were you kind of blown away by this as well, Sam?
Well, when he was sort of like when Etta Candy's in the office and he's going and she's going, oh, we need to do this, we need to do that, and he's going, no, absolutely not, we're not doing that, we're not doing anything like that, I forbid it kind of thing. I was a bit like, oh, this guy seems a bit maybe he is the red herring kind of thing. But yeah, no, it did shock me in the end that he was Ares, because I thought it was either going to be like an unknown someone, like someone that you see in the background but you don't pay attention to and they're always in the background or something like that. But no. The thing that got me, which was just hilarious, was his mustache, and his mustache was absolutely fine for his sort of British sort of not general, but British sort of politician kind of war marshal kind of. Are you okay?
Yeah, I'm just yawning, mate.
Yeah, he's sort of British war marshal kind of look. But then when he had like the Ares like ancient Greek sort of armor on, and then his little mustache is poking through. I was just like, oh my God's sake. It would have once he transformed into Ares, either get rid of the mustache or grow like a beard or something, because it just looked like it just looked so ridiculous with it. And I thought he was gonna grow like 8 or 9 feet or something like that. I thought it was going to be massive from that Lego set that got released. I thought it was going to be, because it's a big fig. It's not a big fig. It's like a constructor fig. And I thought it was going to be like huge or something like that. And he wasn't at all. He just remained the same size the entire time.
Yeah, I know what you mean, actually. Yeah, and even when they showed that flashback where he gets like smited by Zeus, he still had the damn mustache. But one thing I really liked, a visual kind of aspect, was how he sort of summoned his armor out of all like the molten pieces of metal, and then he just dragged his hand down the front of the helmet to make like the eyepiece. I thought that was a really, really nice touch. And what was good as well, which the mold from so many of these movies, is the fact that we didn't get a disposable CGI army and a giant that was what was great. And this third act battle was just awesome, because we've seen Diana Prince like kick some serious ass throughout this movie, like just battering people, you know, whipping them to the ground, slashing them, stuff. And then she gets her ass kicked. She's getting hurled around. She's getting, you know, slammed against buildings. And then it's only when she kind of releases these godlike powers that she can really, like, you know, like take him down. And yeah, and as well, kind of going on at this moment as well, Chris Pine has sort of hijacked the aeroplane, which is carrying all these chemical weapons.
Yeah,
and of course he sacrifices himself. So I kind of had an inkling that he was going to die in the midst of something. So, like, how did you feel about this kind of scene? Because obviously the intention was that there was meant to be emotion. You were meant to feel that, you know, Diana and Steve Trevor had been like, you know, they'd almost sort of fallen in love. So did you think it worked, that moment, that them sort of, you know, did you think they'd built up enough of a relationship between them to kind of feel something at that moment?
I think they had. I don't think it was just going back. Describe this scene basically. So Gal Gadot gets completely blown. She doesn't get blown up, but she gets blown across the airfield, and there's this ringing in her ears. And Chris Pine comes running up to her, and he says something to her, and you can only hear it from her perspective. You can hear this like sort of this ring resonating in her ears, and you can't hear what he says to her. And then he runs off, and then a bit later on, she has a flashback, and she then hears what he says, and he basically says, you know, I've got to go, and blah blah blah, and I love you. And I thought it would have been better if you hadn't heard what he'd said, like, at all. He's like left up to interpretation and stuff like that. And I thought it would have been better if they'd left it to interpretation, and he'd like run off and stuff like that. I don't think they were kind of together long enough for them to fall in love, kind of. I think if the movie had spanned a couple of weeks, perhaps, but it was literally like 4 days. So I don't think they had long enough to fall in love. I think it was fine, you know. You know, it's just what you've got to do in that instance, you know, kind of thing. I think if he'd said, you know, I really like you, I hope I see you again, or something like that, you know, obviously knowing that he wouldn't, but I think his sacrifice was necessary, because we know he wasn't going to be in any future films.
Yeah, I can appreciate that. I thought the only other way that they could have done it was like they did like a flash into the future where like Diana like visits him in like a hospital or something like that, and he's like 95 years old, and then he dies or something like that. Yeah. I was going to mention something else then real quick. One of the kind of earlier funny scenes I thought, which was really great, was when Chris Pine was getting out of like that bath, and she basically looking at him like completely naked, and she like goes, "What is that?" And obviously he thinks that, you know, he's talking about his dick, but and then she starts like asking him if he's like an average male from his world. There was like and again, it goes back to the whole naivety of Diana Prince. I thought one of the other really, really great scenes that she gave a great reaction to was when she kind of makes this realization that it's not just the Germans who are responsible for war. It's mankind in general, regardless of what country you're from or what background, what gender, and there's this general kind of realization and just a sort of an outrage and disgrace that she has for mankind, really. And that built up really, really well throughout the movie, didn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And you know, it suddenly comes to that realization that, you know, she kind of like, right, well, I've defeated Ares, everyone should stop fighting now, but obviously they don't because of that. So like, you know, this is what mankind is like anyway. They are just programmed to destroy each other no matter what. So and war is a consequence of that. And the you know, the soldier, it's not necessarily the soldiers that are the bad guys, it's the generals and the colonels that are telling them to do that kind of thing. So I'm just gonna oh, go on. No, I was just gonna say
real quick,
well, we've just had a message on the YouTube group from We Have a Hulk podcast saying there was a couple of similarities between this and Captain America: The First Avenger. Now, I was actually going to mention this right at the end, because I think this is probably something that's going to come up when Wonder Woman gets an honest trailer. Because I kind of thought about this. I was like, right, okay, so you've got Wonder Woman. She starts off as a young child, and she wants to get trained. She wants to join the army, but you know, the authority, her mother in this case, won't let him. Now in Captain America, he wants to join the army, but the authority, which is the army, won't let him. So she trains in secret. And then Captain America goes and trains with this sort of secret sort of military thing. She gets like the sword and the gauntlets and the lasso of truth to help with her powers. He gets superpowers. Then they go off to fight war, and they come across come across a major villain. And before that, he teams up with a ragtag bunch of soldiers from different nationalities and stuff like that. At the very end, he ends up having a big fight, and there's a big plane full of weapons that then crashes, and you know, essentially it was pretty much the same film, and I didn't realize until I'd come out of the movie until about 2-3 hours later, and I was like, wow, there was a lot of similarities there.
To be honest with you, I think it's been that long since I've actually seen the first Captain America movie. Yeah. I wouldn't have actually thought of that. But to be fair, like, you've kind of hit the nail on the head there. There are a hell of a lot of similarities there. Yeah, that's I was actually just going to mention that YouTube comment then, and
yeah,
we still got Joey in line as well. So thank you to you guys for tuning in right now.
Can I just mention real quick that sword? The sword in the dress scene. You know, a blue dress on, and then she goes to the gala, and she's got that fucking great big, like, 5-foot sword shoved down the back of her dress. Like, there was no way in hell anyone would have not felt that while she was like dancing with them and stuff like that. I was like, what's this down your back? You've got some kind of strange back brace on. And then she goes running out of the castle, still with it down her back, and like, she would have been cut to ribbons off that thing. It was like, oh dear, that's brilliant.
It was a little bit. I mean, I'm just going to be sort of quite laddish for a moment and just sort of say that Gal Gadot was just smoking hot in this film.
See, she is very attractive, but I don't think it was over sexualized in any way, shape, or form. And and you know, you can see her legs out and stuff like that, and you get the odd crotch shot where she's sort of like spinning around in midair and stuff like that. But because of unlike the comics and unlike the animated series, her tits aren't spilling out everywhere, and she hasn't got her ass hanging out, then it wasn't sort of. I didn't. At no point did I sort of think, oh yeah, she is well hot. You know, she's a very good looking girl. Don't get me wrong, but there was no point where I was like, oh yes, this is awesome. You know. I think she's like, I just think she's a very good-looking girl, and at no point to think, oh my god, she is so hot. I'm so glad I came to watch this film because lads. There wasn't a single point in the movie that I thought that at all. No.
I think we must have watched the wrong movie then. I just dropped trout halfway through it, bro. No,
I've just had a message off Samantha saying, I like this
Go on.
movie better than Captain America. And to say it's from the same franchise who gave us Batman versus Superman, they absolutely smashed it.
Hang on a minute. Is Samantha watching us right now?
Yeah. She's downstairs watching us on YouTube. Yeah.
That's amazing. Oh, that's absolutely hilarious. Well, hello to you, Samantha. Thank you for joining us. She must be our third watcher on the YouTube page right now. Oh no, we've got four watching us.
She's just shouted thank you. Just shouted hello from downstairs.
Excellent. So yeah, again, just going back to like the music, the original score for this film just really drove a lot of these scenes, and we got the reprise of the kind of the really intense like electric guitar kind of style.
Yeah.
Every time that came up, it was almost like, you know, like in Power Rangers, as soon as you hear the music, you know that it's like morphin time.
Yeah.
I've just noticed we've just got Bella's tail just wafting across the YouTube screen.
I apologize if my screen's shaking, but she's just like rubbing her gums all over the top corner of the oh geez, Bella. No, there she goes. Yeah, a bit of tail there.
Yeah. And every time that bit of music came on, I just got so excited because I knew that like it was gonna go down. It was great, man.
It was awesome, wasn't it? It was so cool. I was like, it's so cool. It, like even from the trailers, like, oh my god, this music's amazing. But yeah, loved it. Absolutely loved it. And yeah, you're right. The music is very cool through the whole thing. You know, it's like I didn't sort of think, you know, oh, this music sucks or anything like that. But no, it was really good. No after scene
that's
credit.
it, man. I think.
Yeah, I was just saying there's no after credit scene.
Yes, well that was it exactly. Yeah. I googled it before I actually went in.
So did I.
And like, don't bother staying. And the thing is, it was funny because there were these three lads in front of me at the cinema, and as I was leaving, I could hear them sort of saying, like, "Oh, people leaving." I thought like saying, "Well, the joke's on you, motherfucker," because you can pretty much Google it before you actually go in to see these films now.
Yeah.
So that was, you know, fair enough. You know, I mean, they don't have to do it, do they? And no, I think that. In a way, yes, we've got Justice League coming up, but that's the only thing they could really kind of give us a post-credit sequence to sort of tease. But at the end of the day, that's coming out in like, 6 months' time? Not even that, potentially. So 5 or 6 months' time. So, you know, they don't have to give us too much of a tease, do they?
No,
for God's sake, here's the tape.
Sales back, yeah. No, what did you think? What did you think of the very ending, by the way, where she sort of like she was like, "Oh, you know, now I'm ready for a new adventure," and she sort of, oh, hang on, you all right, sweetie? Yeah. Where she kind of like, "Oh, I'm ready for a new adventure," and she climbed to the top of the roof and leapt off. What did you think of that?
Quite liked that. I thought it was a nice moment. It kind of brought it into the present day, and it sort of made you feel like, oh yeah, you know, she's still swarming about as a hero. So I liked it. I thought it was cool. What about you, man?
Yeah, no, I liked it. Yeah, I didn't have a problem with it. I thought it was cool. Yeah, I think it was a good way to end it as well. Like you say, they didn't need that after credit scene. If they had done anything, it would have just been like utterly pointless because it wouldn't have led on to anything because everything was kind of like wrapped up at the very end anyway. So
yeah, that's right, man. That's right. So yeah, really, really cool. Should we? I mean, we're coming up to like the 50-minute mark now, Sam. Should we kind of start to wrap up a little bit?
Yeah. I was just seeing if we had any more messages, but we don't know. Yeah, absolutely. Thoughts on a sequel?
Thoughts on a sequel? I'm so keen for it, man. I think whatever they do, I don't know if I'd like to see maybe her return to Themyscira, and I don't know, like she discovers something there, or I don't know, she goes off to another country somewhere and she has to like uncover some I don't know, like ancient scroll or something like that, you know, something that kind of just ties into that mythology again. Maybe Beast. I have to say, like, I don't, besides from Ares, I really don't have any clue about any sort of Wonder Woman lore or any sort of villains that she has, or her rogues gallery, if you will. What about you, Matt? Would you be up for seeing a sequel? Do you think
definitely. Yeah, I think a sequel definitely work. Obviously, they're gonna have to set it well. Obviously, after what do you call it? Justice League. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see her set in a real world. Could have a Cheetah. She's always cropping up as a villain of hers. So yeah, be interested. And have another male sort of love interest in there as well.
Yeah, definitely. Do you think we'll ever get to see like a Wonder Woman Superman kind of love interest going on?
Oh, maybe. You never know. But Henry Cavill as Superman is really dull, so I wouldn't really want to date that guy. So
Wonder Woman, like
yeah.
So let's start to sum up, dude. Like, just again, just kind of final thoughts on the movie, and again, just to reiterate your rating as well.
I thought it was awesome. I really, really liked it. Like I say, there were little bits I could poke holes in, but I'm not going to go into too much detail. I thought it was really good. I'm probably going to go and see it again at some point because I really, really did enjoy it. And I would give it definitely a solid 8.5 to 9 out of 10.
Good man. Yeah, I think this just was a great film from start to finish. Just overall, just completely enjoyable. I'm poking holes in it now because at the end of the day, that's what we do. We never go into like the nitpicking, don't we? Because
of course,
it's just that's just how we are, isn't it? We are just bastards for this. Yeah. So I think that Gal Gadot just gave this incredible performance that in this kind of movie genre of superhero films and comic book movies, whatever you want to call it, where it's just dominated by all of these male heroes, to kind of storm in as this just mighty female hero is kind of it's really refreshing to see, but also I can see it being like super inspiring for a lot of like kind of young girls as well going to the cinema.
Oh, definitely. Not just the young ones. As soon as we came out, Samantha's like, "Oh my god, I need to go to the gym." So I need to get ripped.
Well, that's it. It's like, to quote Mark Ellis Reagan from So Was It podcast, when he made that really kind of poignant fact about a Man of Steel, and he said that kids should be leaving a Superman movie and wanting to save cats from trees, put on a red cape and run around and pretend like they're flying, but that never came from Man of Steel or Batman v Superman. So this movie to inspire young girls and things like that, and whatever gender you are, I suppose it doesn't have to be female at the end of the day. It's however you identify with these people. I just thought she just played just this sort of this impenetrable hero that just couldn't be sort of scathed by anything, which I just thought was really, really great, but also went on this great journey throughout the film. She met some interesting people, and those people had an interesting story arc as well. I thought she had a great thing going on with Steve Trevor. I definitely kind of felt it at the end, when he sort of sacrificed himself, and the kind of relationship that they built together. Again, killer soundtrack. The pacing was really nice. Just a really, really well balanced storyline, and everything just kind of concluded itself really nicely at the end as well. I think I'm gonna just go ahead and say 9 out of 10 for this movie. I think it's definitely up, and I can imagine towards the end of the year, this got to be in the top 5, I think.
Yeah, it's been rated up there with in terms of superhero movies with Iron Man and Dark Knight. So was in very good company there.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. I'm now. It makes me really excited to see Wonder Woman in the Justice League movie as well, because I want to see some more of that kind of action. I have full faith in Gal Gadot and her kind of ability, her performance. It'd be interesting to see, how she reacts to how her relationship with potentially like Arthur Curry. And just everybody else. If obviously she's going to obviously meet Superman at some point as well. Oh, well, she already has met him, I suppose. I always get confused because at the end of Batman v Superman, Wonder Woman doesn't actually speak to Superman. That's why I always get confused about that. So I think that kind of wraps it up, Sam.
Cool.
Wonder Woman. Well, go and see it. Fucking awesome movie.
Yeah, amazing. If you do want to check us out, go to Facebook, go to Instagram, go to Twitter, search Open All Powers. You'll be able to find us on there. If you want to listen to us, you can go to SoundCloud, you can go to iTunes, you can go to, oh no, it's not iTunes now, is it? What is it?
The Apple Podcasts.
That's the one. That's the one. You can go to Stitcher Radio or the Satchel app, and if you fancy yourself some Open All Powers merchandise, some mugs or T-shirts, you can head over to Redbubble.com and search Open All Powers, and you'll be able to find all the merchandise on there. So yeah, check them out. You can go to the Instagram page. You can see some of our fans wearing the Open All Powers T-shirt, which is awesome.
Indeed, you can. Indeed, you can. Yeah. Yes, and also as well, we've had a bit of a cock up with the YouTube tonight.
Yes.
We had to sort of restart the stream, but hopefully we've still got Joe. At the moment, we've still got We Have a Hulk. So thanks for joining us, guys. We do appreciate it. Anybody else who's kind of dipped and dived into the live stream tonight, of course, if it's again zero budget, zero effort. If we made out that we actually. We just ruined the brand entirely.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think what we're going to have to do is sort of sit down. The two of us are going to have to sit down, and just go through it, and see like, right, okay, how do we make it look good? Kind of thing.
Definitely, yeah. Well, I mean, I still haven't looked into that software that Epic Film guy Nick sent over to me in split screen, because basically I haven't been asked to do it. And if you have a problem with that, you can eat my ass. Basically, that's what I'll just tell people. But actually, well, just speaking of Epic Film guy Nick, I want to say a massive congratulations to Nick and Justin from that podcast, because they've just released their 100th episode.
Yes, they have. Yeah, well done, guys.
Huge congratulations to those guys. I've been listening to those guys for like almost a year now. And it's just been great to kind of to follow them, and I don't think I'd say that they are just a wonderful classic example of a podcast who you can listen to for so long and just notice the improvements that they make upon themselves. Like, you know, they've always been a good podcast, but they're always striving to improve the sound quality with better microphones. They do the live YouTube streams themselves as well. They've got like the merchandise going on, the kind of segmentation quality to the podcast where they break it down into sections. They've always got guests on. The editing kind of standards are really up there, but as well they always maintain that sort of brand of them being just two old friends who get together to talk about movies. So just massive congrats to them. And I will admit that I haven't actually listened to the episode yet, but very much a retrospective over the last 2 years of them podcasting and how they started and where they've got to now. So so that's awesome. my little shout out this week. Also a big shout out to all the power people. Obviously the Nerd Podcast Mafia. Head over to nerdpodcastmafia.com. Podham family. Anybody you want to shout out, Sam?
No, I think you pretty much nailed everyone there. Well done.
I think next week, should we do our CW wrap up, Sam?
Oh yeah, I think that'll be actually. Will the last episodes have been on? I think is there another episode of The Flash to go?
Yeah, they've been on. They've all finished now. They finished this week.
They all finished. Oh right. Oh yes, it will be. Yes, it will be the wrap up next week then. Yeah, sorry, I thought there was still another episodes to go. I don't know why I thought that, but yeah, never mind.
No, that's it, man. Yeah, so we will be bringing you full reviews of Legends of Tomorrow, Arrow, Supergirl, and Flash, and as well the now annual CW Awards. Oh yeah.
I'm looking forward to doing these. Actually, should be funny.
Yeah, for sure, man, for sure. Well, with that, we opened up with a bit of Wonder Woman. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to actually find the classic Open All Powers intro. I say the classic Open All Powers intro, the first free sound sample that I found on GarageBand, and thought, that'll do. Sorry about that. I didn't mean to open it that way. Again, zero budget, zero effort.
You got it?
It's farewell from myself, Gareth Eastwood, aka The Locomotive, and it is farewell from my brother, the SMG, the General, Mr. Sam Eastwood.
See you next week, guys.
Toodaloo, motherfuckers. Bye.
Bye.
Awesome.
That'll do.
There.
Oh man,
wicked.
All
well,
right,
that was
cool,
a
man.
half-assed mashup, wasn't it?
Oh man, that was great.
Awesome, man. Awesome. Well, I will catch you at some point this week, Sam.
Yeah, all right, cool. No worries. I'll speak to you later, man. Take care.
Bye.